Is the laundry done?
Yep, check.
Towels folded?
Yep.
Shirts pressed?
Yep.
Groceries bought?
Yep.
Dinner prepared?
Yep.
Paramania radio turned on? Well?
Uh-oh.
Don't let this happen to you. Paramania's here. Join us at paramaniaradio.com.
Do you like ghost stories? Want to hear about some of the haunted homes and locations that I've investigated? Tune in for the latest in paranormal news and guest interviews with me, Mr. Haunted, on the Haunted Chronicles, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, only on the Paramania Radio Network.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Want to go on an investigation at a real haunted location? And meet investigators from your favorite shows? Then the ideal place for you is Ideal Event Management. Check out our upcoming events and get your tickets now while they last at www.idealeventmanage.com. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Paramania, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
You are listening to Paramania Radio.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you happen to be. Thank you for tuning in to the Leo Bonomo Radio Show on Paramania Radio. Tonight I'll be talking about some of the health benefits that are given when we work as mediums, and certainly if we work in the correct way. There's also live phone in, so if you have any questions on ways of working, anything to do with the paranormal, any questions you might have on that, development, whatever it might be, how to get the best out of a reading. Talking of which, if you want a live reading, it's 91929505150 for the States, and Skype Paramania Radio, and Google Talk Paramania Radio at gmail.com. And if you want to, you can call in from the UK, and the UK number is 44793 741 8085. So you're most welcome. If you do want readings, longer readings, personal ones, you can get me on www.leo-bonomo.com, and we can do email, face-to-face, Skype, phone readings, whatever it is that you prefer. Okay, well, quite a story to tell, really, from myself. I think, like most healers and mediums, I never really like to take any of that energy for myself. I thought that it would be quite selfish, because if others needed healing and you were there to heal, that it wouldn't be right to divert some of it. So I think I'm not any different in that sense to other mediums and healers. And I did that for many years, refused any help or to partake of that energy myself. And consequently, having a bad marriage and things not working out and lots of pressures in that way. And this would include hit and run that I was involved in. I was knocked off my bike and I lost. I used to be a jeweler for about 18 years, and I lost my third company at that time. Was knocked off coming in towards Christmas, and it's a crucial time of year for jewelers. We tend to make more money at that kind of time than any, so that caused a lot of pressure, house, etc. So I was under an awful lot of strain, and still not wanting, from my point of view, to be selfish and take some of that energy. Things really built up, and as many of you may know, I say I had fibromyalgia. Apparently it's a lifelong thing. Doesn't seem to really affect me now anymore, but I was struggling with fibromyalgia, hemochromatosis, which is iron overload, and I'd had, officially I've had at least one heart attack. I know myself, I've had 3. I've also had a stroke. So there are lots of problems that were there building up, lots of stress, the marriage, etc. And losing my company, so plenty of stress there, and still refusing to take energy for myself when I was healing, and allowing a little bit of that, forgetting one of the principles really, which doesn't just apply to our kind of healing, and that is healer, heal thyself. And so in refusing that, what Spirit actually allowed was for me to build up all these weaknesses and to get them to a point where things had, certainly with the fibromyalgia, become quite chronic. And around the middle of 2005, I was having a week or so in bed, literally getting up, cup of coffee, going to the toilet, maybe something to eat, straight back to bed. So I was spending weeks in bed at a time. So quite ill, and I'm sure those that have fibromyalgia would certainly understand the chronic fatigue and the chronic pain. It had got to the point, as far as medication is concerned, I'm sure you've heard of Tramadol, which is a very, very strong pain relief, and the usual dose is around 50 milligrams. And to give you some idea of the pain that I was experiencing, I was put on a baseline of 200 to 400 milligrams, and some days I was taking 600 and 700 milligrams. It wasn't touching the pain at all. So luckily I'm not an addictive personality. I just rationalized that if that medication wasn't working at all, no need to take it. So I did stop taking it. So there were lots of things that built up to, I suppose, what you call a real pressure point. And it was when I got to that point that I realized that, in a sense, it was selfish of me not to accept some of the healing that was going through, because again, that saying comes to mind, healer, heal thyself. And because I got to such a chronic stage, I did understand in that frustration and torment there that perhaps I need to take a little for myself if it just helps. And that was a real change around for me, to think that way. And not only to think that way, but to physically say, okay, I'm going against the principles that I had. I'm going to start taking some healing for myself. As often is in life, and certainly those that are mediums and psychics and do spiritual works, we know that we get to a point of crisis, and we're allowed to get there, or brought to that point from Spirit as a personal lesson. And so in struggling with all that, the personal lesson I learned was that sometimes we do have to accept, and we do need to look after ourselves. Now, from that point of view, I started to become much better. The fibromyalgia was physically diagnosed as well, because up to that point I hadn't realized what was wrong with me. Those of you that may have it know it is something between MS and ME, and I've seen people that with fibromyalgia that end up in wheelchairs and are very, very ill. So I was kind of at that point, and I started to accept it, and took myself off the painkillers because they weren't working, essentially. I think if they had started to work, then I would have continued with them. But started to look at things in a very different way of life. And as I started to accept that, I did understand that I was getting marginally better. And what I really put it down to was that I was accepting healing for myself. What became very clear after some time was that you need to work in the right way, and the right way is the way that we've done in meditation on the show before, of opening the chakras, cleansing, bleaching, if you like, with brilliant white light, taking that energy to remove blockages, to heal all the bodies we have. So that would be physical, mental, etheric, spiritual, astral, etheric bodies, cleansing all of those and going through that every time that I teach. I don't necessarily do that every time I work, but there's a way when you start learning these things, it takes time and it takes a little while to build them up, and you need that routine. But once you've been working for quite some time, then it is not only appropriate but very easy to just completely open like that. It happens, it's just a click, and we see ourselves full of light, and that's the way it worked. So in going through that, and in going through that with my students every week, that certainly helped as well. And you may hear of mediums talking when they've done a workshop or they've done, 3 or 4, 5 readings, how they feel exhausted. And it seems in that sense quite counterproductive. And if you work that way, if you're a medium or a healer and you work that way and you do feel drained, exhausted after the end of a session, you're not working the right way. Now, once you cleanse and you allow that energy to come through you, and if you work the right way, there's a residue that's left. So every day that I work makes me feel better. There are times, of course, when we're connecting with someone, and it can be over the phone, Skype, whatever it might be, but as we're connecting, I'm sure you're well aware that there are people which are called psychic vampires. Sounds quite nasty. Generally it isn't, but it can be. Now, if we're naturally healers and we maybe talk to someone on the bus or on the street and they need healing, what happens is there is an exchange there. And the exchange is that person that's not well takes from you what you can afford. They feel better for it. We don't feel depleted at all. And that's the exchange over, and we've done our bit. And you can tell if you're a natural healer, because there are different types of natural healers. Some heal with their voice when they're talking, and you can sense or understand those people. They will attract people, complete strangers, that will just want to come and sit next to them, talk to them, whether it's on some kind of transport or whatever, and then they go away feeling much better. Now, if we're allowing that process in a natural way, they take what they need, we're fine. What a psychic vampire does is they not only take what they need, but they take everything that we can give and more. And if you're a healer and you've spoken to someone either through a reading or in a shop, and you've walked away and you've suddenly felt quite tired, quite exhausted, what you physically met is a psychic vampire who's drained as much energy from you as they can get. So we need to guard against that. It is worse, in a sense, if you're doing workshops or you're doing a demonstration and there might be more than one person needing needing healing, or more than one person being a psychic vampire within the audience, and they're literally sucking that energy out of you, that isn't a good thing. So you need firstly to cleanse, to keep yourself healthy, to keep that constant improvement up. That's one thing when you sit and you open. The other thing is that you also need to work in the right way and allow some of that residue to stay with you and in the body. And the fourth thing is you need to know when somebody is draining you so that you can close off from them, because they will unfortunately take their themselves somewhere else, and they will drain somebody that's not aware of it. Now, in a sense, that isn't a very Christian, spiritual thing to do, as we might say, but we as mediums need to be able to work. We need that energy to work for others, not just ourselves. And so we need that to be able to pass on messages, etc., etc. So they will find someone else. They're not choosy. They will just pass someone in the street and suck that energy out. So we need to be aware when that's happening. Once you're aware that you are being drained, then you can do something about it. So those are things that we really need to watch for. We need to be aware when energy is being taken. You can sometimes feel a complete pull from the solar plexus. That is sometimes what happens. Other times it can be rather subtle, but as you do get used to it and you can guard against it, then you can understand when that's happening. So those are the kind of guidelines for that. Now, one of the other things that spirit do, if you tend to be useful to spirit, then, and it doesn't interfere with your life plan, because obviously not everyone's meant to be well. People sometimes do get miraculously healed, and I've found in general that the reason for that is that they need to suffer that illness. People need to understand that they're ill, and then they go to a healer, or there's some kind of miraculous recovery. Those people tend to talk about what's happened, whether it's a particular healer or, whichever banner we want to put it under, any kind of religious banner, if that's their way of saying, this has happened, I've been cured, or I've seen this person and this has happened. So there is a reason why they're ill, and there's that healing, miraculous or otherwise. The flip side to that is that some people have to be ill and experience that illness part of their life through until their pass. So those people whose life plan follows that path, they won't get healed. And so, we sometimes hear of a great healer and they're doing great works, and we get our hopes up and we think, well, let's go there because, he heals everyone and we don't get healed. And if you're wondering why that doesn't happen or hasn't happened to a friend, then that's the reason. We're here part of our lesson is to experience what it's like to be continuously ill or to be ill for a long time. So there are various reasons for it. But to say, if you're meant to have an illness and a magical cure, then one of the reasons behind that is that you can express that to other people to give them hope. Okay, so with myself, having had some quite dramatic instances, and going back to the point that I was making of, if you're useful to spirit, they do tend to want to keep you here, whatever illness you've got, or to keep you safe from danger. And I have in my life on, I would say several, because a few is 3 and several is much more. I have several times been saved from being killed or passing over, and I've had an experience when I was quite young that many people seem to have, which is of a voice calling you at an appropriate moment, and it either stops you or makes you listen, and an accident is avoided. So I've had those kind of things. In fact, I've had 4 that I can recount now, and the very last one was that I had been walking in the snow in the road and decided to. I heard a voice and it said, "You might want to walk on the pavement." So I shifted to the pavement, and as I got to the pavement, literally within seconds, a car that was out of control had sideswiped me and knocked me around 10 foot into the air to land in a ditch. And so if I hadn't been warned at that point, I would certainly have been underneath the car and more than likely killed. That car actually careered on for another 50 yards, hit a post, and was a complete write-off. The wheels had gone, the engine had gone, the side of the car had gone. So there's no doubt in my mind that if I hadn't been given that warning, that certainly I wouldn't be here today. So there is that kind of energy behind that looks after mediums. One of the other things as well is that I have had, and I'm not saying this for people to feel sorry for me, because I'm blessed to have experienced everything that I've experienced, and some would say that it has been quite a hard life in some senses. So from an early age, I was not happy at all. My mum, bless her, because we did make up at the end, abandoned us when I was 9, and my two sisters, 3 years and 3 years respectively, younger than me, I tended to look after them. Had a hard time with my dad, and so there was depression there. I had started to self-harm, and I had tried to take my life on a few occasions when I was young, and one of the times that I actually tried that was to suffocate myself. And obviously that never happened. I had tied a plastic bag around my head and just gone to sleep, and I woke up a good hour later with just perspiration in the bag. So I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but obviously I was saved at that time. And the most dramatic time was when during my marriage, which was also mostly very unhappy, had tried to hang myself. And I think I mentioned this last week. And so I had passed out, and the full weight of my body was on the cord. Nobody was in the home. And I woke up a couple of hours later. I had physically been lifted up by spirit, laid on the landing after being released from the noose. So there are those kind of things that have happened. Now, one of the incredible things in working the right way and using the energy and accepting that grace that we have, that if we're going to be doing this work and we're doing it earnestly, then spirit needs to keep us here. It is part of my life plan. So I've been told to be here a long, long time. And whilst I think many people would think, oh, that's great, when my time is due to go home and go back to spirit, in one sense it can't be quick enough, but I do have people obviously that I love here, although it's not a separation as much as other people may see. So I was going through all these chronic things, and at one time I'd had an angiogram, and this was about 9.5, maybe 10 years ago, and I'd had the angiogram to see if my heart was okay, if there were any problems, etc. Had that. There were one or two problems that were discovered, and I was put on some pills. Now, 2 years ago, I had another angiogram, and the doctor had been assuming that I'd been taking all these pills to ease the situation. I don't like taking pills, and it's only in the last couple of years, literally, that I've been taking the medication that I've been supplied. I just don't like taking pills. It's one of those things. They do have lots of side effects, of course, and they can cause all kinds of problems. And some of the medication I've been on have affected my stomach and other organs. That's a slight distraction there anyway. So I wasn't taking the pills. I had this angiogram, and I said to the specialist consultant, the top consultant at the hospital, how are things? And he said, well, there's a slight problem with the bottom of your heart, but actually your arteries are better now than they were 8 years ago. I didn't really want to break shatter his confidence in medicine, because he assumed obviously that I'd been taking those pills. But it was again another kind of evidential thing for me to see that in working the right way, we do self-heal, we do regenerate. As far as the fibromyalgia is concerned, you can look it up anywhere. There is no cure. I am so much better now. I don't have to take any pain control pills. I have pain quite rarely. I'm much more active now than I was. And so, again, working the right way has had this beneficial effect on me. In fact, I'm better now than I have been probably since 2005, which is quite something to say. So I am told that I look younger and sound younger than my age. And for those of you that don't know my age, I'm 59. I think that working the right way does help not only to regenerate organs internally, but this has an external effect as well. And I have been very grateful that this has happened, not from an egotistical point of view, but from the point of view that I understand that if you do work right, if you work with pure intentions, you cleanse all the time, you shield yourself from those that are psychic vampires, then you can certainly have beneficial effects that reflect not only mind, body, and soul. So it's something I feel that's very important. It is something I think that is generally overlooked within the service of mediumship, and we're going to be talking about that in a little while. We've got a few minutes before we come up for the break, so this is just a little pre-warning about that. So we'll be talking about that and some of the detrimental effects that mediumship has on the body. For example, if you're a trance medium or a physical medium or of different descriptions, it does shorten the life. It does take a toll on the spirit body within, but also of the body. You'll probably know that lots of mediums are overweight. Mediums tend to have problems with their weight per se. Some do lose weight and are quite slim, but most of us are overweight and carrying extra weight. That is something else that's affected by mediumship. So if you're not a medium and you're just listening to this program from the point of view of having readings or just an interest in this, then perhaps it might be surprising for you to learn that mediumship carries its own weight in that sense and has a toll itself. But as I say, if you work the right way, you can begin to start reversing those. One of the reasons that I bring that up is that skeptics often say, we're out for money, we're doing this, we're doing that. I don't think they understand that it does and can have a detrimental effect on the body, certainly if we're not working right. Okay, we're just going to come up to the break in a moment, so I'll leave you with that for now. If you do want to call in and you want some live readings, it's for the USA, 919-2950150. Paramania Radio, you can Skype us and you can Google us on Google Talk, paramania@gmail.com. So we'll see you after the break.
If it's paranormal or something spooky that you want, then this is a show where you will hear all about it. Join Scott Morrow, host of The Fearless Ghost Hunter, every Saturday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Paramania Radio Network. Welcome to the all-new Paramania Radio.
Don't go by the book. Think like a pirate.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Leo Bonomo on the Paramania Radio Show. We have a couple of callers, but if you're interested in calling yourself, the number for the States is 919-295-0150. You can get us on Google Talk, Paramania Radio, and at gmail.com, and also on Skype, Paramania Radio. Okay, right, we have our first caller, and that's Laura. Hi, Laura, how are you?
I'm good, Leo. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, really good. As I was explaining beforehand, you know, if you work the right way, you get energy from working. When I work and I finish work, I feel I'm buzzing. I've got lots of energy, which I kind of have over, which seems to make me slightly different from a lot of mediums. I think some just get normally tired and others get completely drained. But yeah, I'm good. Okay, let me try and get a link here. Right, I'm not sure who's here, but I've just seen an image of a volcano just starting to erupt. I can see it smoking, and then it's starting to erupt and shake the ground and that. So I do feel there's a situation around you. I'm told, actually, whoever's saying this, it may not be yourself, but there's a situation that's around you that's just starting to begin to erupt and cause a problem. Would that make any sense to you, Laura?
Well, I'm not sure. It might be, is it work related or is it about a house? Because I put an offer in on a house and I lost that.
Right. It doesn't seem to be about a house. It seems to be more of a relationship. And I'm just trying to find out if this is a relationship at work or home, or a personal relationship for yourself. In fact, as I said, work that lit up. So would you understand that there are some problems, perhaps not directly affecting you, but there's some problems at work, some problems around you, feels more like?
Well, my manager is leaving. She's moving on to another company or another job, and I'm worried about my position.
Right. Okay. I can tell this is a gentleman's voice. And although I can tell that he's elderly, it's still quite a good, strong voice. It's got quite a velvety kind of timbre to it. I can't see him, although quite typically, as I've just said, I can't see him. I've seen a flash of silver grey hair. This gentleman says that your position in work is not really under threat. He can understand that there has been some. He's calling it rumblings, a bit like an earthquake. There has been some rumblings around your manager going. Would you understand? He keeps referring to the manager as her. So would you understand it being a lady? And would you understand her just being quite glad to get away from the firm?
Well, she's staying with the company, but she's moving into a completely different department. But yes,
Right.
It's a woman.
Okay, because I do feel that she's been struggling to get away from that position. I'm not being given all the details of why that's going on, but I do know that she's quite relieved to go. I think it's been some time in coming. The fact is that there are going to be alterations around the department that you're in. Again, this gentleman says that there's nothing for you personally to worry about, but he's talking about some reorganisation. Would you understand you having to do much more than you're supposed to? So you've been given work, it's piled on.
I'm really, really busy at work, but nobody's asked me to do anything else other than what I was hired on to do.
Right.
Do you see me getting offered a permanent position, or am I going to stay out be a contractor?
Right. Now, let me see. I think you're still going to be there as a contractor. Your contracts. Would you understand this gentleman saying it's a 6-month contract, so it's renewed every 6 months?
Well, this one was supposed to be a 1-year contract, and it's supposed to go, I believe, through September, because I got hired in October.
Right. So I can never add up when I'm working, Laura. But have we got roughly 6 months to go then? Because he started talking about 6 months and a renewal, and that's why I thought it was that. So would that make sense to you?
Yeah. It does.
Okay.
Do you think I'm going to get renewed at the end of this contract?
I've got a definite yes for that, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I do see, again, he's talking about some reorganisation in that department. He's talking about it smoothing things over and making things more fair and even for people there. And when he said that, I took that to be that you had more work perhaps than you should do. But I'm glad you don't. I'm glad you've been able to confirm that. But I do feel there is reorganisation there. This gentleman says that it seems to be more of an up-and-coming company now. So there are some changes at top-level management, I think, which are pushing the company forward. If that makes sense as well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
Leo, can you ask about? I lost the house that I put a bid on. I really wanted it, and I found out I didn't get it today.
Okay, sorry, I didn't quite hear that. It faded a little bit. Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, I put a bid on a house, and I found out that I didn't get it. It went to another bidder.
Right.
And it was a house on the lake. Do you see me getting a house on the lake this year sometime?
I've got a yes for that. I don't remember readings, Laura, but this gentleman says that we have spoke about that before. So I think he's using the royal we. So I think not him specifically, but you and I have talked about this through somebody else that's come through. And he's saying that there is a house on the lake there for you. Would you understand him saying that whilst you want something on the lake, you'd prefer it set back a little? I know that sounds a contradiction, but does that make any sense? Because he's showing me the water in the lake rising a fair amount and then dropping again. It's almost like it's tidal, but I know it's not. So there's obviously extra water coming in from somewhere. Would that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just disappointed. I was really counting on it.
Right, okay. I know that you're going to get a home on the lake. This gentleman's just given me 2 or 3 ticks with that. I think that whilst he says you more or less fell in love with that house. So it is a shame from that point of view that you've missed it. But I know that you're going to get something. He says quite close by. So wherever that house was, I don't think it's too far along the lake where you're going to get a home there. Now, as we're talking about that, would you understand the lake being, how can I put this? There's like a little river that either feeds off it or how can I put this? Second, there's either a river that water runs off from the lake into this river, or the river feeds it. This is not a big river, but would you understand that as being a feature of this lake?
Yeah, there's a lot of lakes in this area.
Right. Okay. I'm trying to. He's talking about the lake, the house that you bid on. He's talking about it being that lake. So there seems to be a spur, if you like, off the lake or leading into the lake. He's showing me a house fairly close to that point. So there seems to be either moorings that you can tie up, which is just on this river, just after or just before the main body of the lake. So I know that you're going to get that there for yourself. I'm trying to ask him when. I don't think it's too far. He says within 2 to 3 months you'll have found that. Although, as I've said 2, I feel it's nearer 2 than 3, but it's not going to be long when you're going to find something that you can put a bid on. He says...
Is it a rancher, like a single? I wanted a single floor.
No, there seem to be 2 floors to this. Would you understand him saying there aren't that many 2-floor properties?
No, there's both. There's rancher homes and 2-story homes.
Right. Okay. Well, what he's saying is, perhaps it's just at that part then, but he's saying there aren't too many 2-story homes there, but I do feel it is a 2-story home that you'll be able to afford. Okay. Any other questions, Laura?
Just, I don't know. How about romance? Am I going to meet anybody?
Okay. I know that you've been waiting a while. This gentleman says it has been some time since that's happened. I do feel as you move in and make acquaintances with people around the lake that there is someone there for you. He says it's a slightly older population. Would that make sense to you?
Probably. No, I think it's a mix. I think it's a healthy mix. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was intimating it's 90% older people. But I do think that you're going to find someone there. I think it's going to happen when you get settled in and you start to mix with people. He says it's quite a tight community there, so they look after each other. But I do feel that that's going to be that. Would you understand? He's shown me an image which I'm taking to be you, and I'm seeing glasses and the lenses around. Would that make sense to you?
No, they're actually square, like rectangle.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm just trying to see why. Right. I hate to ask questions, as you know. Is that a new prescription? Because I've heard what you said about square lenses, but it keeps showing me round. So would round have been what you tended to wear, and you've made a change?
Well, yeah. My older pair were oval, but these are a couple years old. These glasses that I have.
Right. Okay. I'm not sure. He's not showing me oval. He's showing me round. So I'll just leave that bit with you because I'm not entirely sure where that's going. Thank you so much for calling. Do call again. I know things are going to work out for you, but I will say prayers.
Thanks, Leo. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Laura. And you. God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay. I'm just going to have a quick. Okay. We're just going to get the next caller. I've just been told that the call is a little bit muted, so I'm sure and hope that we can hear. Hi, who's this?
Hi, Leo. This is Jane. How are you doing?
I'm very good, Jane. Have we spoken before? Now, as I've said that, I've got a no, so I think.
Yes.
We have
spoken to you. I had a private reading with you.
Oh, bless you. Okay. Right. Let me just try and get a link here. Right. I've got a gentleman that I would say is average, maybe slim build. He would be around 5'8", 5'9" tall, dark hair, parting on the right. Hair's quite thick, and he's combed across. I can see a dark moustache that's there as well. To be honest, with the way that he's dressed, he almost looks like a cowboy. It's almost like an old-fashioned picture, not sepia, more black and white. So I know it's a little bit more up to date than a sepia, but I think we're talking about a gentleman that would have been a grandfather, or certainly of that generation. As I'm asking him where he's from or how it connects, he's told me Virginia, but I don't know whether he was in Virginia or you have links to Virginia. But would that make sense to you?
There's some links to Virginia. My brother lived there when he was in the Navy. So
Right.
Somehow he had a girlfriend that lived there in Virginia at that time.
Right, okay, because I wasn't sure whether he said he was there or there was a connection, but it's obvious there's a connection there. Okay, I'm just going to find out about this gentleman. Would you understand him talking about two brothers in the family, and this, I think, his dad's side, somewhere along there, so there could be uncles or something like that. Two brothers that passed away quite young. And he's indicating mid-30s, maybe early 40s when these two men passed away. Would that make sense to you?
Brothers, I think that's my cousin on my mom's side, I think. The two cousins.
Right, okay.
I think
He describes them as very very individual people. So I'm sure they were very nice and that, but there was something that distinguished those two, so they stood out in some way. Okay, right. Let's just have a little listen to what he's got to say. Would you understand him saying that you're trying to change things that you can't? I feel that you're trying to help two people and do your best to kind of guide them, but he says sometimes we need to maybe give advice and then stand back. So I know you're doing your best for two people, but would that make sense to you?
I'm trying to get away from a situation. Like, as far as work is concerned, I'm trying to, I have to transfer to a different department.
Right, okay.
What it's able to.
Right, okay. Because I think he's talking about
I'm trying to look for a new job as well.
Not to worry. What I'm going to let him, if he needs to give me more information on that situation, I'm sure he will. I'm just going to get him to concentrate on the work.
Okay.
Right. Okay. What he's showing me is water. I think it's the sea. It's quite rough, and the boats are kind of bobbing up and down. So I know things have been quite rough at work for you. Would that make sense to you?
Yes.
And he says this is a situation. Sorry?
For quite some time now.
Right. That was exactly what he was telling me. Okay. Now, he says that he feels a move would be best, and that you will find that an opportunity will be given to you. He said either to gracefully bow out or for certainly to make that change that you need. Again, I think as you're trying to sort out the situation and be part of the solution rather than the problem, that's also not making things too smooth. Would that make sense too?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel that there's going to be an opening for you. He says that if you left there sooner rather than later, it would be with some relief. Would you understand that as well?
Of course. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. So he's showing me, it's just his way of showing me, I've got quite a long corridor, and it's like doors are being tried, but there is one that's open. I do feel Spirit are wanting to help move you away to take some of the stress out of the situation. This gentleman's just actually written the word infighting, so I think there's a lot of things going on around you and some infighting there. But he says you will be freed from it so that you can get what you need from the job. As he's saying that, he's counting out coins, so I know that money's quite tight for you, or you're not being paid the right amount in the job. He says that will begin to change as well. Would you understand him saying that you have been denied, and it may be you personally, or it may just be that department or the company, but 2 rises have been denied, so this seems like a succession of rises that just didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm always being denied. Like I asked to move, I asked to transfer to another department. They said, the positions have been filled, and everything, I try to ask to work from home. I ask to move to a different area in the office, and it's always no, or if things are up in the air.
Right, okay. So I do feel that a move is going to be facilitated. As you probably know, while I'm talking to you, I'm firing off dozens of questions. I did ask this gentleman the obvious question of would a job opportunity in another company come up? He said no, but he says it won't be necessary because there's going to be a shift for you.
Okay.
Would you understand him saying that there are 2 managers? Both seem to have denied you. Again, he says successively. So I don't feel it's just one manager that's blocking you. Would that make sense to you?
Yeah, there's 2 female directors.
Right.
And then I have my own, a male manager that I report to. That
Right.
to keep them on, yeah.
Right, okay. Because he's talking about 2 people, each successively denying you. I think there's going to be a change there. Obviously, the directors are not going to change, but I do feel that either this male manager will come in, or a situation which is building up is going to change, where they're going to need to place you somewhere else. He says it may not be your ideal first choice, but at least to be able to move would be something. So I know that that's going to happen. For some strange reason, I don't know whether you have Lucozade in America. It's a kind of golden fizzy drink. It's got glucose in it. It's quite sweet. Over here, if we're not feeling very well, we tend to buy a bottle of Lucozade because it's supposed to have some health giving or energy giving properties. I'm seeing that with you. So would you understand that this situation is making you slightly ill? Would that make sense too?
It is. Yeah, my energy's completely drained.
Okay, right. Because, as I say, this is an energy drink. So he's giving that to me as a confirmation for you, but I know things will change there for you. He also says that you have a slight fear of moving from that company to another. Would that make sense to you?
Yes.
And he says, do try...
Because of what I've gone through.
Sorry, say again.
Because of what I've been going through with this company, yeah.
Okay.
There's this fear.
He says that you will gradually get over that fear, and that the change that you fear, or what you fear from the change, isn't necessarily going to happen. He says there will come a point when you realise that whilst you're happier where you are, you can be even more happier somewhere else. And he says that when that happens, doors will open again for you. So I feel that you're going to get an offer. This gentleman says, give it 10 to 14 months and an opportunity is going to come forward so that you will have the final choice of whether you want to stay there or whether you want to move. He says it depends on many things, of course, the kind of work you're going to do, etc. But he says once you make that decision and you make that move, he says you will realise that you're better off. I don't think people are mean to you as such, but it does seem as though it's not that friendly a place. Would that make sense?
They are being mean to me.
Oh,
like
they
I'm
are.
being bullied in a
Okay, because I must have misheard what he said. I thought he said they're not being mean, but I did get the feeling that it wasn't that comfortable place to work. I think when you move, that you'll move into a place where people are welcoming you and wanting to nurture you rather than to do anything else. So he says, if you want to look around now, then do that. If not, things will begin to improve, but an opportunity will open for you. As I'm asking for another confirmation, he's saying to me, these shoes don't fit. So would you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So he's just giving that as a confirmation there. Any other questions, hon?
Well, do you see me transferring to another department or getting a completely new job? Because I'm anxious to leave this place.
Yeah. I think a transfer is going to be offered to you. He says finally, but he says, if you want to negate that, if you want to look for another job, then do that. But I feel that you're going to get something within that company. There's going to be a move offered and you'll feel much more comfortable there. But again, he has said in 10 to 14 months, another opportunity to come forward for you. You don't have to wait that long. If you want to look for another job now, he says it will take a little time. He's not going to tell you you're going to find it in a month or two, but he says sometimes just the act of looking makes you feel better, and that's what he wants for you. He doesn't want this strain. Okay. He's showing me what it's an apron, but as I'm seeing the apron, I'm kind of drying my hands on it, and that. Would you understand that you have a habit sometimes of just wringing your hands or, rubbing your hands together? Would that make sense to you?
Maybe a few times, but not often.
Right, okay. He's just showing me that little habit there. And again, he's just giving that as a confirmation of things will be better. There is certainly a move for you. That I think, as I say, will be offered within the department. But I think if you want to move somewhere else, you can put that into action and bring that closer to you. But you need to do it. He says that whilst you do want to do it and you think about doing it, you haven't done anything about it yet. And he says, you need to be proactive and do it. Any other questions, Jane?
It's just I want to know about a male. There's a male coworker that's creating problems for me and making my life difficult. I want to know. He found out that I looked at his social media page and I was viewing his Twitter page as a visitor. How did he find out it was me? Like, was it strictly technology or was it part gut instinct? Because he told everyone in the office, including supervisors and managers, and people think like I'm obsessed with him or stalking him.
Yeah, I do think it is just it is. I think it is just purely technology. Again, I do get the feeling that once you get away from there and certainly move department, things will ease up. It does seem to be rather strange. This gentleman says he's quirky, which is a polite way of saying he's a little strange. Okay, we're just slightly overrunning. We're going to go into a break. So thank you so much, Jane, for speaking to us, and do call again. God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Come explore all things spiritual with Vicky and Sherry as they take a look at mediumship, empathy, psychics, readings, and much more. Check out Beyond the Stars with Vicky Johns and Sherry Gamble Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, only on the Paramania Radio Network.
Have you ever wondered what's behind the open door? Then tune in with hosts Maggie Renee and Vicky Johns every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Only on the Paramania Radio Network.
If you would like to be kept up to date on upcoming show information and events here on Paramania Radio, then please take the time to click on the like button above the chat room to like our Facebook page. And click on follow to follow us on Twitter. Thank you for listening to Paramania Radio.
You are listening to Paramania Radio.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Leo Bonomo on the Paramania Radio Show, and we have been talking about working correctly and the fact that it shouldn't drain you and those kinds of things. So we'll get back to that. We have another caller on the line, and and who's this? Oh, hi, it's Sprinkles.
Hello, Leo. So good to talk with you.
Hi, I was just because I was just saying to David, when I read, especially if it's on the lines or on air, I do tend to have my eyes closed, which some people find quite strange. And I was just thinking, right, who's this? And I was just asking David when he's put your name up. So how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good. I do have some projects in the work, and quite a few of them, and I'm not sure if they're all going to work out. So if you can get any insight on that.
Okay. Immediately you asked that, someone's just said, it's their sense of humour, but he's just said 4 out of 5 ain't bad. So would you understand having 5 projects and 4 of them coming?
I'm sorry. Yes, I understand.
It's, sometimes you just start to say, is there and I hear 4 out of 5, it's that quick, and I'm thinking, hold on, I've got to listen to the rest of it. But yeah, so the one, he's just said that the one that he says, I hate to use the word fail because it's not a fail really, but the one that may have failed, he said, that will pick up again. Whatever there is with that, the timing's not quite right for it. So he said it will come round again. As I'm saying that, for some strange reason, I've got an image of Elvis Presley singing. So I don't know whether he would be a favourite of yours or there's some kind of connection. It makes no sense to me. Does it make any sense to you?
No, not offhand. It might later.
Okay, I'm going to ask because it's kind of, I'm seeing that, but it's like the sound's turned off. So it may just be the specific song that he's singing that has more meaning. I'm asking him to turn the volume up. I'm not getting any response, so I can leave that to one side for a moment. Okay, have you got any other questions, Sprinkles?
Just one. I'm about to purchase a house. Is that going to be pretty good? Will it all go through for me?
I think it will. He's talking about a couple of other homes that you've bought where he calls the deal rough. I don't think that you got a bad deal, but I just think it took ages. It was a bit of back and forth and took ages to get done. So would that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
Because he's talking about this one being easier for you. He's actually just yelled surprise, surprise, and I've got a Jack in the Box just opened up. So I love this sense of humour. So if I said that this house you found was a bit of a surprise, or the price was a surprise, does that make sense to you? Because there's a surprise of some sort there. Fantastic. He says, don't worry, it'll go through fairly smooth. I don't know when you're expecting to move, but he said you can expect to be in before June. So
okay. Yeah, I've already moved into the place, and I'm awaiting to go to the closing on it. So I was just a little worried about that. So yeah, I'm already in the place.
Ah, okay then. Right. So I thank you for that, because I think then what he's saying is that it's a done deal, but by the time the papers come through, it will be before June. We're almost in May now as it is, so it's only going to be a short time. Fantastic. I'm seeing something rather strange. It looks like a circular hose that's watering part of a lawn. I've no idea what he's showing me here. I know that you're proud of your garden. Would that make sense to you?
Yes, that's another project.
Okay. It's very odd. I've got a circular piece of hose that's obviously got holes in it. There's like a pump where, so it's almost like a mini sprinkler, but it's as the water pressure builds up, obviously it goes up high and then it comes down. So there's quite a large area that it's watering, but it's a circular area. I'm asking him, well, what happens to the rest of the lawn? And he says, well, just move this along. I'm not sure why he keeps showing me a circular sprinkler. It's something else that doesn't make sense to me, but I think I've got a real joker here. Sorry, Sprinkles, you were going to say something.
No, that's right. It's a soaker hose. I use soaker hoses to water my garden, so it goes completely around the garden.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think that's a typical example of me being a bit thick. He's just showing me a circle, but of course it's around the garden. Yeah, okay. I think he's having a little fun at my expense there. Fantastic. Okay. I'm seeing
You're doing wonderful.
Oh, bless you. I'm seeing some small rocks, which I don't know whether you like rock gardens or that kind of formation. I know they're quite popular in this country, but I'm also seeing a small pool. He says it's a rock pool. To me, I would associate a rock pool with the sea, but would you understand a small pond, or you like in ponds?
I do like little ponds, and I do have a huge pool in the back.
Ah, okay, so it's a cross between the two. I'm starting to understand this gentleman now. I think he's having some fun at my expense.
Does he have an accent?
Yeah. Well, he's not English, but funny enough, I was trying to fix on the accent, and quite annoyingly, it's a bit nondescript. It doesn't sound American. It doesn't sound English. I've asked him whether he's Australian, which he's not. I can tell the Australian accent. He's not from New Zealand. It's not South Africa. I don't know. It's very nondescript. I've got a feeling he's just putting a voice on as well. Would you understand him saying that you have an old uncle in spirit? I don't think this is an uncle to mum or dad. I think this is the next generation back. He says you have an old uncle in spirit that's a laugh a minute. So a real joker.
Well, you wonder where I get it from? Oh, my God.
Okay, right.
Okay, I kind of know who it would be. Yeah.
Fantastic, because I'm trying to get it out of him. He's not answering me, but as long as it makes sense to you, I'm just going to try and get him to figure out where Elvis Presley comes into this.
I'm not sure.
It's an old rock and roll song. He's singing a whole lot of love and a whole lot of shaking going on. Does that make any sense to you with the move? Because again, it's just...
Yes,
it does.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic! Because I've been asking him quite desperately to, turn up the volume and let me hear what he's singing, because I thought it was relevant. And again, he's just messing with me. Bless him. He's got a lovely sense of humour. Have you got any other questions, Sprinkles?
No, that's it. You did absolutely awesome. I thank you. I thank you guys. I thank Spirit that came through, and you did quite awesome. Thank you very much, Leo.
Oh,
You're
thank
awesome.
you. Oh, bless you. I'm just a small cog. Take this gentleman's great love. Sorry. I'll tell you what he's just shown me. In England, we use the wishbone at the back of a chicken or a turkey, and we kind of grab each part of the wing and we make a wish. He's just shown me that for you and breaking it, and you winning the part that you wish with. So he's wanting to pass that to you, and he says you are working wonderfully well. It's not just with the move. I think this is with the radio show and lots of things as well. He says he's a great admirer of yours, and he says he knows that the family are very proud of you too. He says they don't often say much, but they are proud. So would that make sense as well?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you, Leo. Thank you very, very much. And you have an awesome day and an awesome weekend coming up.
I will do, honey. Take his great love and mine. God bless you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, it's lovely to hear from Sprinkles again. She does have her own show, and that's on 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's the Web Weavers, and that airs on a Thursday. Fantastic. Okay, right. Okay, so now we're just going back to working correctly with Spirit and making sure that we do those things that can enhance our life. We do find sometimes, it's just occurred to me, I've had someone talking in my ear here saying that there are some people that have wonderful longevity that never seem to get ill, that seem to thrive on whatever they eat, and sometimes going against the grain of current medical thinking, whichever time span that current thinking might be, and they just seem to have that energy. And this is a gentleman here, and he's just talking about that energy abounding and being plentiful. And he says some people naturally some people naturally harness that energy and work with it, and it feeds them. It literally sustains them. Now, he's bringing to mind also of something that I read on the web. I do think it was on the news as well at some point, certainly I think in the States, but in England. And this was a gentleman, he was Asian, and he was in his 70s. And he claimed that he didn't need to eat or drink at all. And they wanted to do some tests on him because obviously if he doesn't eat or drink, he doesn't defecate either, because there's literally nothing there to process. And they kept him in hospital for a month. And within that month, this gentleman, he was slim, but certainly not thin or starving. And they kept him in hospital for a month, very closely watched, and he didn't eat or drink or defecate during that time. And this gentleman had claimed that he had been living like that for around 10 years, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, there are people that do say that they have such a spiritual connection that they are fed with energy from Spirit, thus not needing to eat or drink in a normal kind of way. I do think that on another level, there are lots of people that fast once, maybe twice during the week. They seem to be marvelously healthy looking. They seem to have an energy and vitality about them. So this gentleman's reminded me of this Asian gentleman and how he seems to literally not eat or drink anything at all, and seems to do very well on it. Not to be recommended, of course, because we can starve in the right circumstances within a couple of weeks. Certainly if we don't have reserves of fat or anything to live off. So not to be recommended at all. But it is an interesting thing. I think if you Google it and try and follow up that story, which I think I will do myself, now it's been brought to mind. So this energy that we have can sustain us. Some people seem to have natural longevity, and they have that vitality about them. There are stories in England of people that start smoking at very young ages, 8 or 9, sometimes younger, have what we would certainly deem to be very unhealthy lifestyles. 2 or 3 nips of whiskey in a night as a nightcap, and or drinking wine, etc. That have never had a cold or a cough or anything in their life, and others that seem to try and do everything to remain healthy, that have quite dreadful lives in terms of illness and shortness of life. So there are those aspects there to it. Now, we're going to continue on this theme, and if you do have any questions about this subject or anything else, you can get in touch with us on 919-2950-150, or from the UK 447937418085. You can get to us also on Google Talk. That's paramaniaradio@gmail.com, or you can Skype us on Paramania Radio. If you do want a reading from myself, Skype, phone, email, whatever it might be, you can get me on Leo Bonomo. That's www.leo-bonomo.com, and you can find me on there and what we're doing. Of course, if you do want a shorter reading, you can call us here at the radio station. So it's not just limited to live personal readings for yourself. You can call about anything, any subject that is paranormal, from development to reincarnation to life in the spheres, life in Summerland, whatever it might be. Okay. So to continue this theme, so I've had quite a few, you might say, lucky escapes. Spirits seem to want to keep me here for various reasons, and also to provide, I think, evidence myself that this work can be beneficial, and if we think right and try and do right, then certainly there are some benefits there. Now, one of the reasons that I know that I'm going to live to be 100, not only from things that have been given to me subsequently, but when I was age 4, I was at what we call in England nursery school, and there was a little Asian girl there, same age of 4, and she had come there, and I'd realised that after she'd left, and she'd only been there about a week, I've realised in recent years why that was. and basically the reason for that is that she started doing readings for people, very, very accurate. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a drink. That's better. Thank you. Okay. So she started doing readings for my friends and myself, and an excellent natural medium. So she was telling people about their futures and what was going to happen. And a friend of mine, I remember standing next to him, and she said, I won't tell you your future, but I will tell you your past. And so she started giving him information about his past. I did think at the time, again, still being 4, that was a little bit odd. but I found out a few years later that he actually passed over. So she had the presence of mind or the contact with spirit to understand there was no point in talking about his future, because he literally didn't have much of a future there. So that was how excellent she was and how well connected to spirit. Now, with my case, she said to me that you're going to live to be 100. And as a young child, you think, great, wow, fantastic. You've got a lot to look forward to, isn't it great? And again, as we get older, we do take sometimes a slightly different view. And the Irish have a saying, may you live as long as you want to and want to as long as you live. And basically that refers to the quality of life. And 100 sounds fine. I've got to say I'm not particularly keen on reaching that age, but I would certainly want to be fit and full of vigour and certainly have as much of my memory as I have now at that time. And of course, some people do have wonderful memories, well into the old age. So that's where the notion of me living to be 100 first came about when I was 4. And spirits certainly seem to be living up to that. Okay. Now, we can say also that genes tend to, if you have particular genes, that we tend to look younger or older looking, or tend to remain fitter. I would certainly say there is something in that. But what drives the body in an energy sense wise is certainly the spirit that's within. Now, we can prove this to ourselves from the simple point of view of sometimes you get partners that have been together for a long, long time. One has passed away, the other's very healthy, and what happens is they just shut down. So we know the mind can control the body in a very real sense, and either keep it going or shut it down. So that has a marked effect. Now, we're just coming up for the next break, so we're going to see you at the end of that, and we'll speak to you soon.
Are you in the dark about Bigfoot, UFOs, government conspiracies, and the paranormal?
Damn, son.
Then become Paranormally Awake with Chad McKenzie, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, only on the Paramania Radio Network.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Want to go on an investigation at a real haunted location? And meet investigators from your favorite shows? Then the ideal place for you is Ideal Event Management. Check out our upcoming events and get your tickets now while they last at www.idealeeventmanage.com. Welcome to the all-new Paramania Radio.
Don't go by the book. Think like a pirate.
Okay, hi. Welcome back. You're listening to Leo Bonomo on his Paramania radio show. I know that we have another caller, and so we're going to go straight into that. And hi, who am I talking to?
Hello.
Hi, who's that? Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is Cindy. How are you?
Oh, hi, Cindy. Oh, no, did you say Cindy or Mindy?
Yes. Cindy.
Cindy. Okay, yeah, sorry. I've got something wrong with my eyes as well as my ears, Cindy. So, yeah.
That's okay.
Here am I talking about how it's all life-giving and things, and my ears seem to be stopping working, and my eyes seem to be playing up. Okay. Have you noticed with some mediums how they sometimes talk about being drained or very tired after work if you've been on workshops with them?
Yes.
Yeah. It's surprising the amount of people that do, and I do try and educate them, but sometimes when they've been, mediums for a long time, you kind of get I've been doing this for 30 years and, and it's like, yeah, okay, but we shouldn't feel like that. We should be infused with the energy. Okay, I'm just going to try and link in with you. Right. I've got a gentleman here. I can't quite see him. He's given the name of Paul, and he's taken me back to around 1967, and he's talking about an accident. I do feel this was a motorbike accident. He says his family, but his family a long way back. So would you understand losing someone that I think would have been a cousin, really? So this would be a great cousin around the late 60s to an accident.
Not that I'm familiar with, but I was born in 66, so I wouldn't have been very old.
No, you
remember,
wouldn't.
But I don't recall hearing of it.
Okay, not to worry. I'm just going to have a quick listen to what he's got to say.
Okay.
It's strange because he's kind of linking in with the theme that we've got tonight. Would you understand him saying that you give a boost to everybody that you go near? So I think he's wanting to confirm it, that some people say they do feel better around you. Would that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so he's wanting to confirm that. Now, he says, having said that, you feel slightly depleted yourself of late. That's what he's saying. So he's not taking me back for
very
far.
much so.
Okay. And he would you understand him saying that you have either stopped taking vitamins or you've stopped taking some foods where there are vitamins that you need? Would that make sense as well?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. For some reason, he's shown me a banana. I don't know what else is in banana, but obviously they're full of calcium. So would you understand needing calcium as well?
Yeah. And potassium.
Okay.
Yeah, they're real high in potassium.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just reminded me calcium being good for teeth and bones and that. I don't think there's any problem in that way. As you know, I'm not I'm not a doctor, and neither is this gentleman. But he's just reminded me that calcium's good for that kind of thing. So I think he's just wanting you to look after yourself a little better. He's talking about a neighbour that has been draining you lately. I've got a very English kind of image of you and a neighbour talking over the back fence or talking over a fence, and this is a lady too. Would you understand a neighbour that you do that kind of thing too? You chat in the garden and he's draining you. Would that make sense to you?
Nope, I don't really talk to any of the neighbors around here.
Right.
We live in a kind of a rural area, but the person that I live with in my home is draining me tremendously.
Okay.
Boyfriend, yeah. And yeah, it's just gotten to where we're kind of like roommates. I just really want to move, and he's got some serious behavioral issues and addictions, and he's just not going to change them, give them up, and keeps claiming he has. But I know he hasn't, and it's exhausting me. And he has the anger, rage issue, and so I could use any advice, spiritual insight, as far as how to move out of this place and how I'm trying to,
Right.
clean things up.
Okay, I can understand now why this gentleman has given me that, because I thought it was a bit strange of a typical English scene of people talking over the back fence. I can understand why he's given me to that, and I have misinterpreted it slightly. If I said that
it made sense to me.
Fantastic, because the feeling, he's clarified it for me. The feeling is that your partner is more now like a bit of a neighbour than a partner. So I can understand what he was saying. So I've kind of twisted that awkwardly. Fantastic. Okay, now, right. Okay, he's asking me to be completely frank, and I'm always honest, but I'm just trying to figure out a way to say this in a polite sense. Would you understand?
Straightforward with me. You won't hurt my feelings, but just be straightforward.
Okay. Would you understand this gentleman saying that you would be better off without him, so that either you moved out or he moved? Would that make sense to you?
Yes, I want to move. This is his place, and I want to move, and financially, I have not been able to even work. He sabotages everything I do.
Right,
Since I've been with him, and I told him I've got to get out of here so I can work and get my life back. And that's the problem, is financially trying to find a way to go.
Right, okay, because I understand what this gentleman's saying now about you needing to be apart, and I wasn't quite understanding the relationship between you because the angle this information was coming from. Okay, one thing that you can do is make sure, do you know how to close down, Cindy? Do you know what the chakras are, or the chakras, and how to close down?
Not sure about closing down, but yes, I'm familiar with the chakras.
Okay. Well, what mediums do when we start to work and we start to develop is we learn how to manipulate the chakras. They're basically the spiritual power points on the body. And so what this gentleman is saying is for you to, instead of manipulate them in opening them, is to close them down. Now, the correct way to open is from the base chakra, spleen, stomach, heart, throat, forehead, third eye, in other words, and the crown, is to open it in that way. And the proper sequence of closing down is from the crown chakra down through that sequence again. And so what this gentleman is saying is that you do need to make sure that you are closed, especially when you go to sleep, but also when you wake up. So this is really what's needing to happen is a numbing effect, so that you are not soaking up his energy, so that he can't, in a sense, throw negative energy at you. So that is something important that you must do. Now, the way that we do this is see those chakras. I always see them as lights. So just imagine the crown going out, the forehead, throat, heart, stomach, spleen, and the base, and just seeing them shut down. The other thing to do to make sure that you're shut down properly is to place yourself inside an eggshell. So really you're asking for protection there, and you're being shielded. And that's the other thing to do. So you need to go through that process. And if you listen back to the archive of this, then you've got it to hand. So you need to do that. Go through that process, place yourself in an eggshell, fill it with brilliant white light. You'll find it will often change colour. It doesn't matter if it changes colour. I keep seeing a dark crimson red as I'm saying that. Red and those associated colours, oranges, browns and that, are energy giving. So I do feel that this dark crimson red is wanting to give you some of that energy back. So that's one thing that you can do. One of the other things that you can do is to cleanse the house, or certainly the room that you sleep in. This gentleman says that you often sleep apart now. Would that make sense as well?
Well, in the same room, but on very opposite sides of the bed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what this.
We haven't had anything to do yet.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing to do is to, when he's not there, is just to go into that room. Imagine you're painting it with brilliant white light. So paint all the walls, the floor, the ceiling, and go round where they all join, the corners, etc., with brilliant white light. Now, what that will tend to do is tend to cleanse that area, to kind of bleach it, if you like. And the last thing that you can do is to, I know this is difficult to do, but to send him lots of love, whichever way you imagine it, little pink flowers, hearts, little pink balloons, whatever you may imagine, and send that to him. Now, what will happen is, it's non-karmic. You're not doing any harm at all, but because he is sucking this energy from you in a negative way, it will help to push him away. So he will need to come to a decision. Now, if you want to, I'm just giving this as an example. If you want to stay in the home, he will want to move. And so that may happen. But what I think is most likely is that he will begin to get fed up with you and then ask you to move. So in other sense, he's giving you your freedom. Now, this gentleman here says, don't worry about the consequences too much. In a financial sense, you will be taken care of. He says that you will find a place that you can go to and you can begin to build something up. So there will be a place provided for you. This gentleman says it may not be entirely ideal straight away, but as you gain your freedom, finances will begin to improve. And okay, so what happens essentially is, as you shield yourself from him, but also send him love, he can't take that. So one of you has to go, and if it's his home, as you say, then he will want you to leave. So what he will be doing is releasing you from that. Essentially, he doesn't want you to go. He kind of enjoys the problematic existence that you have. Would that make sense to you?
Yeah, he's a real drama queen. And
yeah.
So am I. He's on multiple dating sites, porn sites, and he gets caught. And like you said, he get caught, so he's fed up with me because I said, hey, I know you're doing this. This is your screen name. This is your profile name. He's going, no, I'm not. And then when I gave him the names of the sites he's on and the membership names, then he blew a cork and told me just get out. Fine, I want to get out. All it takes is money for me to rent a new place, you know.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. All you do is lie to me, and I can't. This is not living.
Yeah.
And it's unacceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, he does sound very, very selfish, Cindy. So those are things that you can do. Yeah. Now, as you're doing that, as you're closing down, you're helping to conserve energy. So that is one thing. So that's something that you need to do. As you're painting that room in particular, if you want to, you can paint the whole house. So it's just going from room to room and just seeing that light, you know, walls, ceilings and floors. That will also help. So what that's doing is it's helping to shut out negative influences. It will make him feel uncomfortable as well. And again, it's non-karmic, but what he will put that uncomfortableness down to is the fact that he wants to be distant from you, and that he doesn't like you being there anymore. So again, this isn't anything which is he's not going to feel threatened or anything like that or react badly, but he's just going to feel inside that he's done now. You need to move, and he's, from his point of view, allowing you to move on, which is exactly what you want. So those are the three things that you need to do. This gentleman says because he is quite sensitive in a psychic sense, it will react quicker for him. Now, this gentleman says that, again, money will be provided. Would you understand this gentleman saying that you have contributed to the home? So you've either bought things or made some payments in some way? Okay.
Yeah.
Because this gentleman says that what you should try and do once you've gained your freedom, or actually he said try beforehand, see how it feels, but just say to him, well, look, you know, I've put money into this, I need some money. I know money's going to come to you in one form or another, and that's going to enable you to make that move and for you to find a job. Obviously, it's important for you to find a job. I'll be honest with you, he's not telling me whether you're working or not at the moment. I feel you've got an awful lot to do around the home. You know, you're kind of given... what's the word again? You're kind of given chores. Would that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, he keeps me. He retired, and he's like up my butt. Pardon the expression, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm out in the pasture exercising a horse right now to be able to call you and him not be standing in front of me.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So again, this gentleman was just giving that to you as a confirmation, but he's saying, you know, there is some contribution that you've made. So I think legally, you might need to find this out, but legally I think you're entitled to something. And this gentleman says it's up to you how to judge it, whether you ask him for something, and if there's a real negative response, leave it. But I think that there will be some sort of claim once you've left. This gentleman says the important thing is to get to move. You will find somewhere he's talking about a very old friend helping you, and I think this is initially to put you up somewhere, but I know that a place will be found for you. So this gentleman says that you will be taken care of. Now he says it's very important that you get those assurances and reassurances before you move. So he doesn't kind of want you to leave blindfold and think, right, where am I? You know, could end up on the streets. Spirit will show you that business is being taken care of, and that you'll have somewhere to go before you need to. But those are the things that you can do to help improve your situation. As I'm asking him for another confirmation of that, he says you've changed your hairstyle. I'm actually seeing, I think you have quite beautiful hair, but I don't think you get much of a chance to, he says, display it as you like it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I don't get to go out anywhere. This guy has turned me into a prisoner, basically.
Ah, okay. So you know, this change is desperately needed. If you do those things things will change because he basically won't be able to take you being around him. So for him, it's a release to let you go, but it's certainly much more of a release for yourself. This gentleman's just yelled out "Happy Birthday." Now, I know you told me there's a horse there, but would that make sense to you? It's connected to the horse as well somehow.
Tomorrow, well, I'm out here working one of my horses, but tomorrow's my birthday. My son's in the house making me a cheesecake.
Oh, bless. Okay, so he's just giving that to you again as a confirmation that things will go right. Okay.
Now,
Fantastic.
you mentioned there was a very old friend of mine that would be helping me get into a place. And there's a friend of mine, he's in his mid-70s, and he doesn't know what's going on, and that I'm looking for a place. In fact, I was going to move, a few hours away, and he asked me to stay close by in this area because whenever they have a horse farm also, he's in the business. And whenever he needs help and his employees have to leave and go down to sales and racetracks and stuff, I cover for them, and I'm kind of on call for them, so I can work part-time and cover for them. So he asked me to step in this area and said he was going to help me get out of the situation, but I haven't really talked to him in a while. I really haven't talked to him recently.
Okay.
I'm like 98% packed already.
Right. That makes a lot of sense because as you're telling me that, I'm getting ticks all the way with that. So that's where the old friend will come in. So again, this gentleman's saying, that don't worry about where you're going to go because that's going to be taken care of. So thank you so much for confirming that. But this gentleman's very happy with that. Fantastic.
Very nice.
We're almost running out of time.
You were dead on. Thank you very, very much. You're always a blessing, and I have had readings with you before, and you are phenomenal. Thank you for sharing your gift.
Oh, bless you. I think if my head gets any bigger, I won't get through the door, Cindy. But I'm just, I'm just a
well, I'm
small...
I'm saying that sincerely.
I know you are, bless you. We can't do anything without spirit, and I am just a tiny cog. Take this gentleman's great love. He said you will remember him. Mine too. I know it'll go well, but I'll say prayers for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bless
you. Bye. Okay, so here we are. We're at the end of the evening again, and thank you so much, and listen in next week.